let's take a look at the timeline of ferry tragedies. Now, in June of 2016, a station wagon plunged into the sea. Joel Masindano, an accountant at KPA, perished, and the vehicle slid from MV Likoni. Now, this is according to a compilation by the Daily Nation. In September of 2016, a driver and his loader escaped death when their lorry with construction materials plunged into the ocean. In November of 2017, a station wagon slid into the sea. Mohamed Nyambwe escaped death. The car belonging to the Likoni Constituency Development Fund manager developed mechanical problems aboard MV Jambo. In May 2018, a petrol tanker driver escaped death when his vehicle failed to get up to the mainland side ramp from a ferry. And in July 2019, Salim Musa, a driver, and his stuntman Katana Ali survived when a truck belonging to the Mombasa maize millers plunged into the Indian Ocean. And on September 2019, which is the most recent incident, a minivan driven by Mariam Kigendi slid into the ocean as horrified MV Harambe passengers watched. She was with her daughter Amanda Mudeu, a pupil at MM Shah Academy in Mombasa. Their bodies are yet to be retrieved, as Kevin Mutai has told us. He's on location. He stays on that story. As soon as we have any updates, he will be bringing them to us. And now joining me in studio this morning to provide some insight is Byron Adera, who is an Pioneer Kenya Special Forces officer. He's also a security expert, consultant, and the country spokesman of the Association of Corporate and Industrial Security Management Professionals. Happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Byron, sitting next to him in red is Lucy Ndungo. She's the Business Intelligence Manager at John Andrews Risk Management. And sitting next to her is Peter Kibet, an investigator, also with John Andrews Risk Management. Now, I'll start with you, Byron. Several questions have been raised. One of which is, why was there no ramp at the correct angle to keep the vehicle from rolling back? Second question is, why do we need a private firm to come in and help and provide oxygen tanks with sufficient capacity to reach the 60 meters? We are being told the vehicle is situated 60 meters deep. We're told the vehicle is situated. Why did we not have any lifeguards on board? Is it standard practice? So there are a lot of gaps, and it's not the first time this has happened, as we've I've just read through based on that compilation by the Daily Nation. So do you think there's been some laxity on the part of the Kenya Ferry Services?
Ideally, yes. It's a very sad situation that we're having this incident that did happen on the 29th of September, come hot in the heels of several others that history and providence, if you may, have credited us with. The Kenyan Ferry Services ideally has had in its hands a lot of lessons. So ideally what we're seeing here is a deliberate, if you may, effort to throw the baby with the bathwater. It's very, very, very sad to note that even when we are talking against the backdrop of a properly constituted emergency or disaster response for that matter, then there's nothing to, not so much to write home about. It's not a question of only the ramp having been, actually touching the water or deeply plunging into the water, and not at 35 to 45 degrees as the regulations and good practice advise. It's not actually also on the part of only the laxity with which everybody else, talk about even the onlookers who are checking this situation. I mean, if you were to think about it critically, then this throws you back to, all historical incidents that have happened. In the US, you had the Kitty Genovese in 1964. So nowhere else is this more profoundly displayed, or the bystander effect, where everybody's watching a space. You and I were there, and we're looking at the onlookers. Videos have been flying up and down. Of everybody else looking at that space and thinking there could be someone else who's gonna, take action. But that someone else, critically, as a first responder, is the Kenya Ferry Services. So it's really, really sad that a number of factors confluence to make this space be surviving by mercy. I mean, I watched the interview that was granted the MD, Mr. Goa, and you immediately, thrown on the ground. You could be beating your head against the tree and wondering how then that organization survives with that level of leadership. Because we told there was a guy that was called, And the AMD optimistically said he was an hour away. That's one person that was called and is an hour away. You don't want a serious organization as Kenya Ferry Services that is charged with doing business, transporting 360,000 Kenyans from the mainland of Likoni, and of course joining Likoni and the island of Mombasa every single day. 2 million cars have been given as statistics that are transiting through that channel in a year. I mean, if you're talking about a perfect storm fallacy, this is coming to greet the hands of Kenya Ferry Services because of a plethora of failures. It's not just on the ramp alone, it's a lot of things that have come to confluence to visit disaster. And it's really sad, and the Nation newspapers correctly reported that if disaster like this were to happen any other day, then you're on your own.
Okay. Lucy, who do you hold accountable?
Before I
Was it just
point
bad
a finger,
fortune?
it is bad fortune. But first, I want to send my condolences to the family of the deceased. I think we are living in unfortunate times. You've just read the timeline, meaning there's a lot that Kenya Ferry could go by to improving their standards. And I think also the leadership that was there on the ground, forget about the MD, those on the ferry, they were the ones who were there. They should have provided the leadership. The ferry didn't stop. It continued to the other side. Yet they had a problem that was taking place. Perhaps that was good judgment. They felt they can't stop where they are. Though there was one person I read on the internet that attempted to try and save the situation, jumped into the water with a rope to try and secure it on the vehicle, but it was too late. I wouldn't say that the bystander approach was harmful. I think it was prudent of the Wananchi that they didn't jump in, because perhaps most of them don't know how to
They're not
swim.
strong swimmers.
Yeah, they don't have good training like my colleague here. So why are they jumping in the first place? So the first thing in a crisis, you must secure your life. And if there is someone who is confident, then they can respond to the situation. Capacity in Kenya Ferry Services, and regionally, Tanzania ranks #2 of the worst countries where they've had crises. In 2011, they lost over 2,900 passengers, and they've not sat down and thought, how can we improve, how can we help one another to reduce the cases in this region? So we need to step up on maritime security and start talking a dialogue where we are putting passengers first. Those passengers were not just Kenyans. We get tourists who have come into the country. They have to go to South Coast, or they're coming back from South Coast to the mainland, to the island, and it's just scary. Also, I think government, I would point the blame to the government, because in the 90s there was talk, and early 2000